Today we're doing a 3-day wear test. It might end up being a 2-day wear test of a new foundation. This is the Shiseido RevitalEssence Skin Caring Foundation, which is in glass, and their packaging is quite charming. And we're also taking a look at the Haus Triclone Concealer. Doing two things at the same time, a concealer and a foundation that are new. It can be a little tricky, but we are going to forge ahead before we get into it. Nothing makes me crazier than watching foundation reviews where nobody talks about what their skin type is, because it matters. What I like or what my skin type is could be completely different than yours, and therefore you have to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and kind of adjust it a little bit. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 61. Oh God. I'm 61. And my skin is on the drier side, but it is not dry and flaky. Once in a while it feels dehydrated, and some days I do feel it tightening. It just depends a little bit on the weather and the climate that I'm dealing with. It's the case for most of us. I prefer foundation that has a little bit of a glow to it. But as you can see, I start a little shiny because of my skincare and my sunscreen. So that's me. That's what I'm all about. I have redness to cover today. My skin looks a delight because I'm wearing the Tula Mineral Magic Sunscreen, which has a little bit of a peachy tone to it and gives me a little bit of coverage. So I'm going to do some comparison swatches first, you guys, because I ordered the wrong color. Shiseido had a foundation called Synchro Skin many years ago, 6 years ago maybe, and they had depth of tone 1, 2, and 3, and then they had cool and warm in each. So I bought 2 bottles and mixed them, and it was lovely. It was beautiful on the skin, beautiful. And then they discontinued that and came out with the Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing, which is a fuller coverage foundation, and it is very beautiful on the skin. Unfortunately, it really wasn't a good color for me. I bought the color Quartz, and I couldn't figure out exactly what was wrong with it, but there was something wrong. And when it came time to buy a shade for this, I was, as usual, just overwhelmed. What they were describing and the pictures that I was seeing weren't the same thing, and I thought, oh, let me just do Quartz. I put this on yesterday, and now I know why Quartz doesn't work for me. It's far too light. We're going to forge ahead, and I'm going to do some comparison swatches in case you're looking for the same foundation and you don't know what color to do. So this is Quartz, and as you can see, it's pretty light. It's lighter than my hand, which is quite light. I am going to leave these foundations on my hand, so in half an hour or so we'll come back and see what they look like dried down. The next shade is the Haus 160. As you can see, it's not as neutral. This is the Givenchy Prism Libre Skin Caring Foundation in 3 and 250, right here. And this is the Makeup Forever Reboot in Y315. This is usually a little too dark. It's best for me in the summertime, and these are the colors that we're working with. Now the sun came back, so I want to show you, these are the colors that I'm comparing to, and I think you can tell that this one is quite a bit too light, but I did feel after I put it on yesterday, after half an hour or so, it seemed to deepen up a little bit. I am going to put this in the palm of my hand. I'm just going to do one pump, and I forgot to read you the description, so let's just put it on first, and then I'll tell you what they have to say. I can smell alcohol. There is alcohol denat in this, pretty high up. I'm not spreading it out because the place where I want the most coverage is the center of my face, and I just want to cover that really well and kind of even let it set a little bit before I let things spread out. And I feel like I can get my entire face practically with this, but I'll have to get my mirror out and take a look. So now, I know this isn't usually what I do. I'm going to go pat it with this brush to kind of blend everything all together. I feel like the forehead's pretty good. I want to get right above the eyebrow. And where I didn't blend it well, it will now be blended well. I would normally do this with a beauty blender, but I didn't dampen my beauty blender. And I gotta say, you know what? It looks good today. Yesterday I put on a lot. You can build this to full coverage 100%. Let's get into what they are saying about this. The Shiseido RevitalEssence Skin Glow Foundation SPF 30 comes in 30 shades. What it is, a skincare active foundation that provides buildable medium coverage and visibly improves bare skin in 1 week, revealing healthy, glowing skin. Okay, coverage medium, finish radiant, formulation liquid, SPF 30. The SPF is oxynoctate. Highlighted ingredients are fermented kefir, which I've never heard of that being used in skincare. It's a probiotic that fuels the ability to maintain a healthy microbiome. Niacinamide, a form of vitamin C, B, that visibly smooths and brightens skin. Makeup microcapsules suspended in skincare essence delivers skincare actives to the skin. Let's talk about the ingredients. What I did was I took out all the things I can't pronounce, and those largely end with cone. A lot of dimethicones, a lot of silicones, a lot of cone words in this foundation. Water is the first ingredient, and then we have trimethicone, glycerin, niacinamide, alcohol denat. It's right up there and I can smell it. Hydrogenized castor oil, rice ferment, I think it's rice ferment filtrate, and that is brightening, and that's oftentimes found in Asian skincare. Tocopherol, lavender oil, camellia leaf extract, that is green tea, so that's an antioxidant. Aluminum tocopherol, potassium hydroxide, and alcohol again towards the end. So there's a couple of alcohols in here. Usually alcohols are all about, I have some left on my hand. I'm just going to build. Look at that. Alcohols are generally about setting. So something can set up quicker. Because my skin is on the drier side, I will do alcohol. Haus Labs. Haus Labs doesn't make a good color for me, and it has alcohol in it, but it makes the skin look so darn pretty. And if this, suits my fancy, I might be willing to. I won't make it my daily thing, but I'm willing to deal with it if I think it's really lovely and if my skin doesn't react to it. SPF 30 doesn't really thrill me. SPF in your foundation, it should be the cherry on top. It shouldn't be your actual sunscreen. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to move you in. The light's a little bit better on this side than on this side. And it definitely has a sheen to it. However, it doesn't feel slippery. It doesn't feel set like some foundations that aren't matte feel set. But it doesn't feel like, ooh, I need to give this 20 minutes to set down. It is adhering to the skin, and I think we can thank the alcohol denat for that. Now the Haus Labs, I got in 11, light, neutral, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do some swatches and compare, and then I'll read you about the ingredients. I do love their foundation, but they do not make a color for me. So this is the Haus Labs, which is a little bit light. This is the Dior in 2N, Conceal and Correct. And this is the Lancome in 215. Givenchy Prism Libre in 250. So I can see this one is lighter than the ones I usually go for. And finally the Tom Ford in Cream. Right here. And let's see what they have to say. The Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tank Hydrating Concealer with Fermented Arnica. Whew, a lot of words. What it is, a lightweight, long-wearing, non-comedogenic concealer that does more than cover, it visibly blurs, depuffs, brightens, and conceals with medium buildable coverage. Medium, natural, liquid. Callouts: niacinamide, which brightens and boosts skin hydration. Fermented arnica reduces the look of redness and irritation. And hyaluronic acid complex plumps and hydrates. And again, I took out all the words I can't pronounce. First, after water, is glycerin, and then the arnica montana flower extract, niacinamide, squalene. These are way down. So glycerin is up, and the rest are way down. Coleus root extract, another hyaluronic, camellia seed oil, ferment extract filtrate, apricot kernel oil, which is very common again in Asian, Japanese, especially skincare, olive fruit oil, sweet almond oil, sunflower oil, licorice root extract, ferment extract filtrate, tomato fruit extract, tocopherol, and then they mentioned sunflower seed oil, ferment extract filtrate, and aloe. These are all lovely ingredients, and I would say if you have drier skin, they might be quite nice on you. And I think this also very comfortable for dry skin. Let's take another look at these and see if they've changed colors. I do feel initially this one looked like it was the lightest, and this is the Haus. And now I feel that this is darker than the Haus. So I am right. It does get a little bit darker. Let's go on with this, and I'm going to do finger on this side, and I'm going to do brush on the other side, or another side. If I find another eye somewhere, I will pop that in. And just the teeniest bit, I just want to see what's going on. It's not super liquidy like actually the Givenchy and the Lancome. There's a little bit more thickness to this, but not like the Kosas. And I just use the teeniest bit, and probably not enough because I didn't get right inside here, but it's giving me coverage. I'm just going to do a teeny here, and I'm going to get a small brush to blend that out, work that into the area. I think I'm going to pull you in. There's a little like clotting. I think with the fingers, at least with this small amount, not ideal. I think I would prefer the brush. And now with the brush, really, really lovely. Looks like skin. We're going to give it the test to see if it troughs. Most do, you guys. 98% of them do, so it's not the end of the world, but if it doesn't, then I'm in love. And now I'm going to go in with the Angie Hot and Flashy brush and pick some up. It's still very little, and see if I like this brush application a little better. I do. I think it's just the texture of this works better with a brush. So let's do a side to side. Fingers, brush. Brush is much, much faster. Again, hardly used any on both sides. And my eyes are different from side to side, but I think I prefer this one. A little bit of troughing. I'm just going to even this out. This is just a more even situation. So if you go on with fingers, I feel you will need to do a beauty blender or a brush just to smooth things out a little bit. So we're going to do the beloved Clay de Peau, and I mean this just works well with everything. It blends in 3 seconds. Lovely, no issues. I didn't lift off anything. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my By Terry powder and just work on this shine a little bit. I like something that's a little bit radiant, but not too radiant. Also, I'm starting to sweat just a teeny bit. Okay, I'm going to bring you in, and I think it looks quite nice. There's still a little bit of sheen. I could put on more powder, but I'd like a little bit of sheen, and of course it kind of highlights the cheekbones without having to use highlighter, and I think it looks fresh and lovely. I'm going to just take a little bit of powder on the tip and a little bit of powder under the eye. I don't like shine or radiance under the eye because my puffiness, it just makes that puffiness look more so. Looks really good. Yeah, interesting. Well, here's the interesting thing. The concealer is a little too light, the foundation is a little too light, and put them together, and they look really, really nice. And I like the tone of this foundation. In fact, I think it works really well with my neck, but my neck is the lightest part of my body, and I just don't know if I want to match my neck. You know what I mean? But I'm surprised. I'm liking this more than I thought I would, because when I put it on yesterday, it was just so obviously not the right color for me by like 5 shades. But a little sheerer, and I think it works. Nonetheless, I am going to go on with a little bit of bronzer. That's why I put more powder on. And this is the Sept in Claire, which has a little bit of a pink tone to it. And just help it a little bit blend with the rest of my body by doing a little bit of bronzer. I actually think I want to use the Sept brush. This is the Angie 103, but I want something a little bit softer. Hey, baby girl. So I'm doing the Sept. So it works well with powder when I powdered my skin. I'm not sure how it'll work if I use a powder product like a blush or a bronzer before I powder with my setting powder, but we're going to try that tomorrow. But I am super pleased with what this looks like. I feel like I have very nice coverage. It does not look cakey on the skin at all. It looks a little weird right here. And I wonder if that's a powder situation. I'm not seeing it on this side, and maybe it's something you can't see, but right here, this little triangle, this doesn't look good, but it's fine here. You know what? I was sweating a little bit, so I think that's what it was. I think it was putting on powder, wet face, never a good thing, and I think that's why it looks a little weird. So we'll try it again tomorrow. There goes the sun, which is the perfect cue for me to sign off and come back tomorrow telling you what my thoughts were. And you can see the color in different light because the sun did leave. Again, this is the color. This is the Haus 160. This is the Givenchy Prism Libre in 3 and 250. And this is the Makeup Forever Reboot in Y315. All right, you guys, back tomorrow. All right, you guys, welcome to day 2. How did this wear yesterday? It was very long wearing. I shot this video at 11 o'clock yesterday morning, and I didn't wash my face until midnight when I just did my slow water to take off my makeup. I was pooped, and I didn't do my skincare or wash my face, and it looked really lovely. I didn't check the concealer, but it did look good when I did check it about 5 hours afterwards, and it didn't really crease after I had my initial troughing. So wear is very, very nice on this. We're going to give it another go today. I'm going to use a beauty blender and see how that applies. I felt that my coverage was really, really strong. And you might remember I had some left on my hand, and I pat over my redness. And I really felt like it was a strong medium coverage. So let's shake it up first. And let me show you, it is liquidy and it does run just the littlest bit. I'm going to pick up with my beauty blender and just do a little pouncing. I think I'll get lighter coverage with this. That's what my goal is. So I'm almost done with that one pump. So here's half the face with, half the face without. One more pump. And same thing, I'm just going to dip in. I think it looks really nice. Today, I am going to do powder products before powdering my face to see how that works. But generally speaking, I will first do my eye makeup and let everything set before I do that. So let's go on with the Haus Labs. And I think last time I went like this. This time I'm going to disperse on my hand, right there, and pick up with a brush. I'd say this coverage is really, really decent. I'm just kind of buffing it. So there's hardly any on this side. I'd say the coverage is so good that you can get away with less. I do see more product here, and I can tell because it's lighter under this eye than on this eye, but I think the coverage with just a little bit is good enough for me. I would probably go more for this than this. Okay, not bad. So I'm going to turn off the camera and let this set up. I'm going to do a little bit of eyes, and we'll be back in a minute and go on with some powder products without first putting on my By Terry to see if there's any skipping or sticking or anything interesting. I'm back, and in case you're wondering, I'm using the Natasha Denona palette. And I went on with this, which is kind of my go-to right now. And then I went on with this a little higher because I didn't want something this dark that high. I went with this under the brow bone to bring it down a little bit. And then I did this and I tapped into this around the lash line. And then I used my Surratt wand for a little lining right here. And then there's a powder thing inside here, like yay. Boop, 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 to give it a little bit of a smudge. My Ilia mascara. I will list everything down below. But I don't know, I'm really pleased with the look, so I thought I'd share it with you. I'm going to go on with a Siage something or other from Dior, which online looks a little grayish. It looks a little edgy. And in real life, I haven't found that to be so. But I thought, you know, I've got a taupey little eye going on here. I'll just stay in this zone and let's see what happens. So I do feel pull, and I did spend a lot of time on my eyes. It's not a horrible amount of pull, but I feel it more on my cheeks where I put more foundation, actually. There's no pull up here. I'm now going to go in with my Victoria Beckham bronzing brick because this color is cool enough to do a little contour. So this is a flatter brush. This is probably the Suq brush. Always my brushes are listed down below. But the Suq is a little bit flatter. It has a pinched ferrule and it works really well for contour. Don't want to go too crazy. And there's no pulling here. And now I'm going to just go into both shades. Actually, I'm just going to go into this one. So with this brick, you can use both shades like this, or this shade, or this shade. And since this foundation is a teeny bit too light for me, I didn't want to bronze with something too dark. It would look strange. Okay. And there's nothing gunky. Let's just check the brush. Nothing gunky on the brush, but I will say, I think for me, considering my skincare and considering my sunscreen, I would prefer to powder this before I go on with powder products. I don't think there's anything weird going on or skipping or anything, but yeah. And then for lip, would that be too deadening, especially considering the weather? I'm going to try something different. I'm going to go on with this liner, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, that's the Victoria Beckham liner in number 3. And I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Maybe I'll just pat a little something or other on my lips. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and do some powdering because I do feel a little too shiny. And today I'm not sweating like I was yesterday. I think that's why it looked weird on this cheek, because it was getting a little sweaty. And yeah, going on powder when you're sweaty makes a mess. And a teeny bit under the eye. Just the teeniest bit of troughing here. Not that bad. I'm going to pull you in. Usually I get much more. So let's go over it. First of all, I'm troughing on this side, which is very unusual. I usually trough on this side much more. And again, this is very specific to my kind of under eyes because it's puffy and then my cheek meets, and there's really a trough right here. And most things do trough for me right here, but I feel like I liked this a little bit better yesterday. If you don't have issues under the eyes, like a lot of these little teeny lines and vertical lines and troughing and puffiness, then you probably will love this. But I think for me, it's a teeny bit tricky, but honestly, just about everything is a teeny bit tricky for me. I should take on my hair since it's not boiling hot. All right, so the concealer wore all day without a problem. I liked the application a little bit better yesterday, where I put it directly on and then I blended it with my finger, and then I went over with a beauty blender on, I think, this side and with the brush on the other. I don't love the brush application as much. I just don't think it looks as pretty under my eyes. As far as my skin goes, I think it looks just as pretty. I thought that it built really, really well when I added some to my cheeks yesterday, just with what was left over on my hand. And that's hard to do. Oftentimes when I try to build like that, I find it just looks like I didn't blend out my foundation. It's like, oh honey, you got a little too much foundation right here. And it didn't do that. The color remained the same. That's something that also happens. I find when you try to build with foundation, it will look a different color because it's more pigment in one place, and I didn't feel that that was the case. It absolutely does have really pretty beneficials in it. It doesn't feel greasy. It doesn't feel, I'm hearing the sound of UPS, I wonder if it's for me. It doesn't feel uncomfortable, and it has very long wear. The cons are it does have alcohol in it. Chris can go outside to see if she's getting a cookie from the UPS man. And that's something I don't want to put on my face on a regular basis, but I do think it's really pretty, and I think I'm going to keep it because I feel that in a month or 2 months, this color is going to be much better for me. It still might be a little too light, but remember, after 20 minutes, I didn't order anything from UPS though. After 20 minutes, it changes color. It warms up, it deepens up a little bit, so that's important for you to know. And those are my thoughts, you guys. I feel that if you have oilier skin, you're not going to have a problem with this. Even though there are oils in it, it doesn't feel oily. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's really moisturizing. Of course, it doesn't feel dry either on my skin. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, I need a little spritz of something to give me some relief. So I think for what skin types, I think if you're combo, so maybe oily T-zone and normal everywhere else, you'll be fine. If you are gusher status and you need blotting papers and you're just really putting out a lot of oils, you probably are not going to like this. If your skin is in the normal range, not dry, not oily, I think you'll find it comfortable. And if your skin is dry, on the dry side like mine, I think you'll find it comfortable. I'm going to pull you in one more time so you can take a look at the skin, and I'm going to scooch in for that. And I think we did a good job with this one. But that is going to wrap up today's video, you guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health.